welcome to Washington Central Podcast. I am Saurabh Shukla. It has been days since the Iran war negotiations are on. We have been hoping that the roller coaster will finally lead to some result. And there is now hope that a formal agreement that may be acceptable to both the sides, US and Iran, may be on the cards. I've been saying all along that this has been fragile peace. It's been going back and forth. But the sense is that even now it will require some of the red lines that both sides have. They haven't agreed on that and they don't want to cross it. So clearly, the key issues of nuclear material, Strait of Hormuz may still take a while. But the good thing is that uh, some kind of an agreement is in the works, which will have a ceasefire holding on for about 2 months, which will allow both the sides to reconvene and also agree to a formal peace agreement, which will finally uh, lead to the end of this war. Obviously, we've seen back and forth. It has been a game of, I would say, a power play because U.S. Resorted to attacks on some of the Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz because they felt that these vessels were trying to lay mines and also defying the blockade that the U.S. had. President Trump has made it very clear that his red lines include that Iran has to shun its nuclear program, has to give away the enriched uranium, and also have to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz, which is an international waterway, is uh, allowed freedom of navigation, which is the logical step forward. Clearly, even as this agreement is being negotiated and some kind of an, I would say, settlement will come through, uh, the situation to stabilize will take much longer. So that's the reason why countries like India, countries of Asia, which are severely impacted because of this disruption of uh, Strait of Hormuz, may feel the heat for a bit longer. So that obviously is the big news coming from Washington, D.C. And my hope is that this war should come to an end now. It has been way too long. And even though all the parties are committed in some ways to see the end of this war, but till the time that happens, till the time we see a final agreement uh, being signed by both the sides, I will still not say that this is beyond a fragile peace solution or a permanent peace in the Middle East. And certainly, we can expect that the heat will be on, the economic uncertainty may be a bit longer, uh, especially since the peace deal that is also coming to the fore will bring some kind of a temporary ceasefire. Shifting focus to the domestic big issue in the US, that of US midterms. A lot of people have been speculating, the political pundits have been saying that President Trump may be losing his grip over the GOP, which is the Republican Party of President Trump, but that certainly doesn't seem to be the case. In the hotly contested, one of the most watched primary election in the state of Texas, uh, his endorsement led uh, to Ken Paxton in Texas winning and defeating the incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn, who has been a veteran senator. Even though Senator Cornyn has supported President Trump, but President Trump in his endorsement said that his support did not come at critical time. Clearly, the big message coming out of the White House and is that President Trump endorsement matters, and that has been there in most of these races. In fact, almost all the races where President Trump has endorsed a candidate, that has meant that the candidate has got a record amount of donors chipping in and also making sure that the candidates win. So clearly, it's the Trump card, which has been working very well uh, for the Republican candidates, if I can define, and that obviously will be music to the ears of President Trump and his supporters and the White House, which was worried uh, about the fallout of the Middle East conflict, the Iran war, uh, the rising gas prices on some of his core voters. So that certainly is not the case. How will this pan out on the overall situation, whether in the House races or some of the Senate races which go to polls in November this year? We have to wait and watch. But certainly, President Trump continues to hold sway over his traditional Republican voters, and that has been demonstrated by all his endorsed candidates winning these races, defeating some of the rivals who posed a threat to President Trump and his policies and who did not agree uh, to his agenda. What will this mean in the months ahead? There will be far more reluctance from the Republican parties to part ways uh, and differ from President Trump's agenda. Obviously, there are some lawmakers who are still opposed to his ideas, even from the Republican Party, but that number may go down and they may not be as vocal. That's a big message coming out domestically, if you ask me. One of the most important endorsement that I spoke about was Ken Paxton winning the Texas primary and becoming the Republican Party candidate. What happens in November? We have to wait and watch. But for now, it's advantage Trump when it comes to the endorsement for the Republican Party candidates. Shifting focus again to geopolitics, one of the biggest visits was of Secretary of State Marco Rubio to India. A lot of people, geopolitical pundits have been saying that Marco Rubio's visit was all about repairing ties, but he clearly said in Delhi, and I thought it was a high voltage visit, very well orchestrated and carefully choreographed by the proactive US Ambassador Sergio Gore, who made sure that the Secretary of State had a virtual red carpet, had a great birthday celebrations uh, in New Delhi for America, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio was the headliner, and he had A.R. Rahman getting his troupe to play was a big coup. Uh, Besides the cultural nuances, the optics of Secretary Rubio visiting the Taj Mahal, the Fort in Jaipur, even though it was a record heat and he braved that heat, clearly coming from Florida, that helps him. But I thought that the visit also had a great amount of substance. And I say substance for a couple of reasons. One, there was a clear articulation by Secretary Rubio that this was not about rebuilding. This was about taking forward the strategic partnership that US has with India and building on that momentum to make sure that it's not about building blocks, but to carry forward an agenda of substantive cooperation. In fact, President Trump made a surprise call, which was thanks to Sergio Gore, wishing Prime Minister Modi and speaking about his personal chemistry with the Prime Minister during this uh, America's birthday celebration in Delhi. And that was also a big icing on the cake. But overall, if you see, whether from the bilateral prism or even the other big meeting on Quad, I thought Secretary Rubio's visit not only will add to the momentum and ties, but will also make sure that the chemistry between the two countries, the fact that they are on the same page on a lot of issues going forward, will only be enhanced. And I thought this visit was critical and came at the right time. Uh, in geopolitics, timing is very important. It came just after President Trump's visit to China, and Secretary Rubio was also able to fill in his Indian interlocutors, be it Prime Minister Modi or External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, on what they felt on this visit, and also reinforce the fact that the India partnership is strong and stable, and they will continue to build deeper connect and momentum on that. There was also uh, a critical meeting of the Quad foreign ministers, which reinforced the fact that these four countries, India, US, Japan, and Australia, will continue to work together, be it on South China Sea, Indo-Pacific, to make sure that they take on China's hegemonic designs, and they also work together as democracies to create a template of cooperation, which is not, as they clarified, a defense agreement, but an agreement which also blends in some bit of security cooperation and sends out a clear message to China, which obviously was rattled at the Quad foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi. Overall, for geopolitics, I would say this visit uh, by Secretary Rubio not only blends in that momentum that was required, but also adds greater heft to the partnership that we have between India and the US, and also signals a wider engagement at a critical time in geopolitics, that India's voice matters, and US considers India not only as a key ally but as a key friend, which matters in the global arena. And he also invited Prime Minister Modi to visit US, and that certainly sources are telling me that may happen sometime during the year, because there is also the G20 summit that President Trump is hosting end of the year, uh, which will also see attendance by the Prime Minister. So there is also a sense that there may be a standalone visit that they may plan if the Prime Minister is here for the UNGA summit. At that time, he can come down to DC. But it's a good news. And if you ask me, leave aside the skeptics, leave aside, uh, I would say, those who have been saying that the visit was not substantive. A visit in the current context is not about joint statement. It is not about, I would say, pure optics. It's about being there at the right time, at the right place. And I thought Marco Rubio was there in New Delhi at the right time, and he made sure that he told his host that he was at the right place for the right reason. And that is the reason that President Trump believes in this partnership between US and India. He respects Prime Minister Modi, and that should be the big headline and the template for the US India relationship going forward. Thanks for listening to Washington Central Podcast. Thanks for watching this podcast on YouTube. Do share this and let us know what are the other topics that you'd like me to cover. Thanks for listening to us and watching this podcast.